And welcome to a brand new video and podcast series, Two Geeks and a Marketing Podcast. We're here to keep you up to date with the latest news, tech content, and wisdom from the world of marketing. My co-host is a man on a mission to keep marketing simple. He's the voice of the Marketing and Finance Podcast. He's also the host of the RogVLOG video series. I give you Mr. Roger Edwards.
Oh, Pascal, you make me feel embarrassed. It's so good to be working with you on this. And of course, you're also on a mission to demystify digital marketing. And you're also the host of the Content Marketing Studio video podcast. So we're pretty good on content creation, I think. So great to be working with you on this.
Well, thank you. And thank you to you, our viewers and listeners, for your support. This is our launch episode, and we can't wait to tell you what we have in mind for the next few weeks, months, even years. Yes, we're that ambitious. Roger, I want to start with one simple word. Finally.
Finally. Now, everybody knows that a lot of work goes into putting together content. You know, you've got to map out your scripting. You've got to think about the platforms it's going to be recorded on, the platforms it's actually going to be distributed on. And let's face it, Pascal, we've had a bit of fun putting this together, but we've also had a few technical hiccups along the way, haven't we?
We have. Now, the reason why I say finally for our viewers and listeners is because you and I have been talking about working together, creating something together for quite some time. Every time we had a conversation about it, it was usually a restaurant, either in Edinburgh, Newcastle, or Durham, or usually at a conference organised by people like Chris Ducker, Andrew and Pete, and many others that I'm probably forgetting. And each time we had a conversation, we said, you and I, we should have recorded this. And there it is. What we're going to do, as the title will suggest to you, we're going to combine our passion for our chosen profession, which is, of course, marketing communication, and our passion for perhaps our chosen projects, which are video creation and audio creation. So I hope you don't mind. We're going to be combining the world of business and the world of popular culture.
Popular culture, yeah. And popular culture works so well in a marketing context, doesn't it? I've always been an advocate throughout my career of tapping into pop culture in your marketing, because whether it's a TV program or the latest Star Wars episode or the latest Game of Thrones series, the general public love these things, they consume these things, and if you cleverly tap into that pop culture in your marketing, it resonates with people, it engages with people, and we want our marketing to be engaging, don't we?
We do, and part of our journey, you and I, I've been hesitant to bring the world of filmmaking and video production into marketing, content marketing, because I felt those two worlds should be kept separate. I also was worried that, frankly, people would not take me seriously if I said to them, there are things you can learn from the world of filmmaking, TV series production. But if you look about the way in which they market themselves, if you look about how they go about engaging an audience, sustaining their interest over years sometimes, I do believe that on occasion, dipping into the world of gaming, film production, TV, and more is going to be very, very helpful. Now, for you and I to both have a structure for those sessions, but also to make sure that we bring value to our amazing audience, we've got some segments. I believe we should use the proper term for those things. And if I look carefully at our notes, we're going to begin with things like in the news. Then we're going to be moving into content spotlights. Then we're going to be moving into things like the tech of the marketing world. We're also going to be looking at this week in history, which I think is going to be great fun. We're all, of course, mentioning film marketing. We should on occasion delve into that. And because we are part of an amazing community that continue to inspire you and I all the time, we're also going to have what we call the creators shout outs. So I think lots to go through. Let's begin with in the news. What is that all about?
As you would expect, we're just having a look at news stories, and those could be news stories from magazines like Marketing Week. It could be things we've seen on Social Media Examiner's website. We will be having a look at what's breaking news in the marketing world, and we'll just be adding our opinion, our spin, maybe even our predictions on how that particular news story will play out.
And you and I agreed that there would be a lot to cover, so we're going to be going at quite some pace at that in the news, but then we'll slow things down in the second segment, which is our content spotlights, which is where you and I, once we will choose one article, one podcast, or one video that just made us stop in our tracks and made us reflect and consider things very differently. And I will bring my chosen, obviously, content piece a week. You'll do the same on your side, and I'll invite your reaction and perhaps reaction from for our audience. The next thing we'll move on to is then our discoveries in terms of the marketing tech and apps. Over to you.
Well, do you know what? This is one of the bits of the show which I'm really quite excited about, partially from the point of view that we'll be sharing our discoveries, and no doubt we can actually benefit from things that we discovered ourselves. So it could be a new app for an iPhone or Android. It could be something you can use on your PC. And I have to say, recently, Pascal, I've been having trouble with my audio mixer, and I've got this great big clunky audio mixer with about 1,000 wires pouring out the back of it, which I've got to remember which sockets to plug them in on the computer, and etc. etc. And it's just stopped working. And I've recently found, after doing quite a lot of research on the internet, I found almost like a virtual mixing desk, and I've been playing with it this week, and it is utterly remarkable. And the great thing about it is no wires.
Really?
So I think the tech thing, we'll get excited about talking about the tech, but I think secretly we'll have been playing with it as well.
Absolutely. Talking of tech, the next segment after that, which is one that you kindly allow me to introduce, called This Week in History. Things have moved on so rapidly. I mean, if you're not take the view that the occupation, the professional marketing starting perhaps just after the Second World War, when the economy had to be restarted and consumerism, began, just the last 40 to 50 years, technology, the way in which we communicate, the way in which we interact with each other and travel and so on, has moved so rapidly that I think on occasion we forget where it has come from. What was the early version of the computer of today? What was the early version of TV, phones, and all the kind of technology and more that we use for communication? And I think it would be immense fun to kind of go back to that. For example, let me ask you, what was your first computer ever? What was the first computer you used?
Oh, the first computer I ever used actually was at school, and it was a Research Machines 380Z, and it was owned by the physics teacher. It wasn't owned by the school, it was owned by the physics teacher, and he would allow the students to book it and take it home at weekends, and it was one of the most exciting things in my life at the time, was getting to take this computer home. And I remember taking this 380Z home, and it came with all these paraphernalia, and you had to load the basic language in on a tape cassette, and I would get up at 4 a.m. and play on this computer all the way through to about midnight, and my parents were, for goodness sake, you get yourself off this computer. And I remember at the time, everybody thought it was amazing because it had 32K of memory. Wow. And that was really, really quite astonishing.
What I can
we are talking about 1983.
That would be about right, because I can do a bit better than that. Our first computer at home was the Auric Atmos, 48 kilobytes. And the same thing, we had to plug a cassette player. You can hear in your mind, the sound. And sometimes the cassette didn't play so well, so you had to start from the very beginning because the program of ones and zeros are not loaded properly. But that's the whole point of This Week in History, is to reconnect and kind of see the thread through to where we are today with modern technology. The next thing that we're going to be looking at is, just because, as I mentioned a moment ago, I feel, and I proudly feel, like I belong to a community of amazing content creators and people who spend a lot of time and energy inspiring others, bloggers, podcasters, YouTubers, and the likes. And from time to time, what we're going to do tonight is just give them a bit of time, a bit of a shout out, and point to their amazing content with links to the show notes and so on. And then you and I are going to close with film marketing. This is important.
This is our shared passion, as you said at the start, is marketing. We've been doing marketing all of our careers, but we are also major film geeks, aren't we? You know, and I guess we also share a love of what would you call it? Science fiction or science fantasy, or a combination of the two. I'm quite partial to a good old fashioned horror movie, but I guess there's nothing better than mixing a passion for marketing with film to actually look at how some of the most successful films of all time have actually been marketed. And you think about the amount of money that goes into a film marketing campaign. It could include teaser trailers, it could include, you know, some sort of website with a landing page where you download merchandise, that sort of thing. Some of the most successful marketing campaigns in history have been around films, and I think we can learn so much from having a look at how studios and how production companies have marketed their films. And I'm really excited about this one. I mean, we could probably spend another hour talking about how Star Wars, the latest Star Wars movie, was brought to the market, but maybe we'll leave the first film until the first full episode.
Absolutely, and please understand, you know, to our audience and listeners, we will not spend a whole episode talking about films, but we want to put to you the argument that if you think about what was called a press pack for a movie, you've got, you know, your press release, you've got your images, your stills, you've got your poster, you've got your teaser trailer, you've got your trailer, then you've got, of course, the full version. It is so similar to what you would do in content marketing, which is to get people from looking at micro content on social media all the way to looking at the full content on your website. There's such similarities that I think it's worthy of exploring it. And yes, you're right, I want to spend some time talking about films with my friend Roger. That's true.
And we promise that it won't always be science fiction. It won't. Science fiction.
In fact, you know, what we could do, Roger, is ask people to suggest and put submissions about films and marketing campaigns that they want to see. And I'd like to also kind of give ourselves a challenge of looking at the marketing campaigns from previous times. You know, movies in the 70s, in the 80s and 90s, not just current times. So how was a movie marketed before the internet? And how did it begin, you know, with all that? So there you have it. These are the key elements of the Two Geeks and the Marketing podcast, from in the news all the way to film marketing, finding different ways to keep you up to date with the latest news, tech content, and wisdom from the world of marketing. This was our launch episode. He was Roger Edwards, I was Pascal Fintoni, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.
See you later, guys.